Good afternoon, 100 percenters. This is going to be a first video of a line of videos where I'm going to talk about the science behind bodybuilding and lifting weights and losing body fat, gaining muscle, all of those types of things, the things that I wish I had known when I was about 10 or 15 years younger. But on this video, I'm going to talk about macronutrients. When you hear someone say, hey, did you hit your macros? Or I'm hitting these macros. I'm going to explain what they're really talking about so you'll have a basic understanding of what a macro is and what it means to bodybuilding. It's actually a very important aspect. A macro means it's just short for macronutrients. Your body needs three essential things to grow muscle, to basically be healthy. The body needs three things. It needs protein, it needs carbohydrates, and it needs fat. Those three things, when people refer to macros, that's what they mean. They mean protein, carbohydrates, and fat. Now, there's tons of information out there on what percentages you should hit your macros on, what percentage of protein, what percentage of fat and carbohydrates should be in your diet. There's tons of information out there, but a general rule is 40-40-20, meaning 40% protein, 40% carbohydrates, and 20% fat should make up your diet, or your meal plan, rather. Diet's a bad word. Okay, now, when we're talking about 40%, and here's the part that can be a little confusing and what's a little harder to understand, and it took me a while to understand this. What they mean by 40%, or what is meant by 40%, is that is your calorie intake. That is a percentage of your calorie intake. So, out of all the calories that you eat in a day, 40% of those calories should come from protein, 40% of those calories should come from carbohydrates, 20% of those calories should come from fat. So how do you figure that out? How do you figure out how many calories of protein do I have? I mean, how does that happen? Well, it's really, really simple. For every 1 gram of protein, you multiply that by 4, and that's going to give you the number of calories that 1 gram of protein brings. For 1 gram of carbohydrates, it's also 1 to 4. So if you have 10 grams of carbohydrates, that's going to equal 40 grams or 40 calories. Okay. For fat, it's 1 to 9. So if you have 10 grams of fat, that's going to give you 90 calories. So that's how you figure that out. So your macros are important. Your macros relate to your protein intake, your carbohydrate intake, and your fat intake. And once you get those in your diet, that's really, once you get to a point where you know that you're actually eating 40-40-20, then that's when you're hitting your macros. You're actually hitting your macros. Now let me be a little bit more specific. Along with macros, now you got to talk, another conversation that you have to have with yourself is, how many calories do I need to grow? Okay. Tons of information out there, but one of the general rules, and this is one of the things that I go off of, for me, I take my body weight. If I want to lose weight, if I'm trying to cut, I take my body weight, I multiply by 15, and I subtract 500. I'm actually subtracting 1,000 right now, which is probably not recommended, but I'm doing this to try to cut a little bit faster. But the general rule, if you're trying to lose weight, multiply your body weight by 15, subtract 500. And that's that's your caloric intake. So if you think about it, okay, let's say that your caloric intake is 2,000. Well, as far as your carbohydrates, your fat, and your protein, 40% of that 2,000 should come from protein, 40% carbohydrates, 20% from fat, and that is how you do your macros. I hope this information has been helpful. Okay, that's it for today. On the next video, I'm going to talk about aerobic versus anaerobic exercise and what that means to burning fat, actually burning body fat. That's it. And 100%ers, stay 100%, and we will see you on the next video. Bye-bye.